Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So we had that Xbox Showcase and Starfield Direct go through, and we're going to get right into all of the announcements from that show, starting with Fable. Yes, we had lots of teases coming into this showcase that Fable would appear, and we did have some footage here to see. And right now we don't have a release date for Fable, but we do know it will be part of Game Pass on day one, and it seems to be a reboot of Fable as was announced in 2020. So this isn't Fable 4, it's just a whole new start to the series. And overall, the footage they showed, I think, looked pretty good. We'll just have to see how this game shapes up over the next year, maybe two. Next, we get a reveal of a new game, South of Midnight. And according to the official press release from Microsoft, this is a new third-person action-adventure set in a magical, realistic version of the American South. And they didn't seem to have any, gameplay footage. I think what they showed was probably in-engine cinematics. And no release date yet. We'll probably still have to wait a bit before we find out what all the action in the game looks like. And then next we get the first look at Ubisoft's new open-world Star Wars game, which is Star Wars Outlaws. And this is set to release sometime in 2024 for the Xbox Series X and S, as well as PlayStation and PC. And this is supposed to take place sometime between the events of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And you play as Kay Vess, who seems to be a female Han Solo type character, and we're supposed to get more about this game today at the Ubisoft Forward event. So make sure to tune in for that if you want to find out a little more details. We didn't really get any play footage. It seemed to be maybe in-game cinematics. And there was no mention of this game coming to Game Pass, so I wouldn't expect it. Next we see 33 Immortals, and this is coming from the indie studio Thunder Lotus. And the game is described as pick up and raid cooperative to survive hordes of monsters and rise above the almighty. And the name 33 Immortals probably comes from the fact that you can do 33 player co-op. And the game is set to come out sometime in 2024 and is listed as a day one game for Game Pass. Next we see a bit of gameplay footage for Payday 3, and this is coming to Game Pass Day 1 when it comes out on September 21st. And the game is supposed to introduce new skills, gadgets, and weapons to the franchise. And this should be quite a leap from Payday 2 because it was released 10 years ago, so quite a bit has changed technology-wise since then. Next, we get another one of the worst kept secrets last week. We see Persona 3 Reload coming sometime early 2024. And the game is listed as a Game Pass game. And unfortunately, it looks like some of the extra content that was added since the original Persona 3 was released, which would be the Fez and the portable contents, won't be in this remake. But it'll probably still be worth checking out if you're a fan of the Persona series. And then the next game we see is Avowed coming to us from Obsidian. And the game is supposed to be set in the universe established by Pillars of Eternity. However, the gameplay is being compared more to Elder Scrolls. And the game is set to come out sometime in 2024 for Xbox and PC, as well as day one on Game Pass. Then we see Sea of Thieves, The Legend of Monkey Island. And this is a new original story that's a free DLC. And that is set to come out on July 20th, and it will be part of Game Pass. And next we get the world premiere of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, coming sometime in 2024, of course, for Game Pass Day 1. And they showed off a bunch of different modes in this game. They have a search and rescue, air racing, low altitude training, as well as an airship tour. And then a side note here, they have a Dune expansion coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator on November 30th. And I guess this is a tie-in to that second Dune movie that's coming to theaters. And then we have Hellblade 2 Senua's Saga, I think I'm pronouncing that name right, and that's coming sometime in 2024 and will be coming to Game Pass. And when I was watching the footage they showed here, I was wearing headphones and it kind of felt like an ASMR demonstration. But the graphics looked pretty good, and it'll be interesting to see how this game shapes out over the next year. And then one of the highlights for me, we have Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth coming early 2024. And in this trailer, you can just see Ichiban kind of washing up on shore, and he seems to be confused and doesn't really know where he's at. So it looks like we've got sort of a mystery here as to what the plot will be. And RGG Studios did tweet out a description here of the game. An unexpected chain of events set two legendary ex-Yakuza, Kazuga Ichiban and Kazume Kiryu, on a larger-than-life RPG adventure. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is the previously announced 8th iteration in RGG Studios' flagship series launching early 2024. And then we have the announcement of Fallout 76 Atlantic City. And this will be an expansion to Fallout 76, and we don't have any release information just yet, although it did say that it would be coming to Game Pass. And then we have what looks to be an interesting game from Capcom, Path of the Goddess. And this is listed as a Game Pass game, but we don't know a whole lot more information just yet. We might see something at that upcoming Capcom showcase. And I kind of have to wonder what the gameplay will be here. It has a distinct Japanese look, and you've got swords and bows and magic. And a lot of people thought it had a look similar to Onimusha, so we don't know if it'll have similar gameplay or not. And for the racing fans out there, next we see Forza Motorsport coming October 10th. So another franchise here kind of doing, I guess, a reboot by not putting a number on this release and just calling it Forza Motorsport. And they kind of highlighted their partnership with General Motors, showing the Cadillac V&R series as well as the Corvette E-Ray. And the game will have over 500 cars to choose from at launch. And then next from Bethesda, we see the Elder Scrolls Online Necrom Shadow over Morrowind, and this is coming out on June 20th, and this will be coming to Game Pass on day one. And then we see story missions coming to Overwatch 2 on August 10th. And then we get the other worst kept Persona secret. We have Persona 5 Tactica coming November 17th. And this will be available day one on Game Pass. And this appears to be a tactical RPG style game. And then we have Jusant from Don't Nod. And this is coming out sometime in the fall of 2023. As well as Game Pass Day 1. And according to the Steam page listing, this is an action puzzle climbing game. You're supposed to master your climbing tools and make your way up through diverse biomes. And then next we see Still Wakes the Deep arriving early 2024 on Game Pass Day 1. And this is from the studio Chinese Room, and according to the press release, this is going to be a narrative horror game. And the game puts you in the shoes of an offshore oil rig worker fighting for his life through a vicious storm, perilous surroundings, and the dark, freezing North Sea waters. And then next we see Dungeons of Hinterberg, and that's coming sometime in 2024 and will be a day one game on Game Pass. And according to the game's website description, it's an action-adventure RPG set around this new tourist hotspot in the idyllic Austrian Alps. And then we get a trailer for Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, and this is coming September 26th. And of course, no mention of Game Pass for this. And the trailer for this expansion shows it'll bring players to Dogtown, a new location in Night City, to rescue the President of the new United States. And of course, as they announced earlier, this expansion won't be coming to last-gen consoles. And then we get a trailer for City Skylines 2 coming October 24th, and it will be available day one with Game Pass. And then we see the latest fantasy RPG from Atlas, Metaphor ReFantazio. I'm sure I'm butchering that. And the game kind of has a feel of Persona and Shin Megami Tensei. And it has a release window of 2024, but no mention here of Game Pass. And then we see Towerborn coming sometime in 2024, and this will be available day one with Game Pass. And this is a tactical RPG coming from Stoic, who's the studio behind Banner Saga. And then we see Clockwork Revolution. It just says coming in due time, and it will be available, it looks like, day one with Game Pass. And this is described, according to news.xbox.com, as a time-traveling first-person action RPG. And then here at the end of most of these game announcements, we got what I would say is a bit of a surprise announcement. We have an Xbox Series S 1TB carbon black model. And this will retail for $350, which is a bit of a discount if you were to try to buy one of those expansion cards and put it in an Xbox Series S to get the same amount of storage. And that's still $150 cheaper than the Series X. And you can pre-order that right now, and it's set to release September 1st. And then we end with, I believe, about 50 minutes of Starfield. So I'm not going to go through all the details in this. If you're planning to play Starfield, I highly recommend watching this full, almost tutorial of the game. But we'll hit some of the highlights here. And we first see the character customization, which seems to be pretty robust. It looks like you can do sort of a job selection with it, and that will have some impact on how you interact with some of the other characters in the game. We also see sort of the mainline quest, and we also see how you can really customize and build your ship in a lot of different ways. And the game does boast over 1,000 planets to explore, although I noticed that some of them are kind of barren, that maybe they're just ones you go to mine to get materials you need. And when you get to a new planet, you have the option to build an outpost, so it'll kind of be like your home base. And once you've built it, you're able to assign crew and companions to work there. You can set up extractors to harvest resources, and there'll be a system to be able to send those resources to your different outposts. And when you're traveling between these solar systems and planets, they did have the option, look like, to quick travel to some place you've been before. And it looks like you'll be somewhat limited to how far out you can go until you upgrade your ship. You'll also be able to unlock, I guess, skill points that you'll be able to apply in different ways. One example they showed is being able to improve lock picking, so you're able to pick those tough locks. And there was a lot of customization for weapons. You had different type of rounds. They had some that were sort of like electric shots that won't kick you back if you're in a 0G area. And then they have some just BFGs to just blow things up as much as you want, or you can go the more stealthy route and get some sniping type weapons. And you'll be able to switch either between first person or third person, just whichever you like. And just a whole lot more to go through that I've not even scratched the surface. So I definitely recommend you check out that full, it's like 45 to 50 minute presentation, especially if you're interested in the game. And I guess it's big news that it didn't get delayed again. It's still set to come out on September 6th. And toward the end of that presentation, they did show some new hardware to go with this. They've got a watch that's modeled after the watch you use in the game, as well as what's already been leaked out, which is a controller and a headset. And I thought the controller was kind of neat, as it has sort of descriptions on the buttons that go along with the controls for the game. Now, if you're wanting to get that watch, it's part of the Constellation Edition, which is listing at $300. So you get obviously the game, you get the first expansion, Shattered Space Story, a skin pack, a digital art book and soundtrack, a steelbook case, a Constellation patch, a credit stick with a laser-etched game code, and that watch, of course, and it comes in a special case. So definitely a lot of big announcements here at the Xbox Showcase. And looking through the list of announcements here, some of the ones that I'm more interested in is seeing how Fable turns out. It seems to me like this may be like a late 2024 release. I don't think we're going to see it this year. I'm definitely looking forward to the new Like a Dragon game. I've played all the games in that series, and I'll continue to play them. And then I have one word for Starfield, and that's overwhelming. This game looks absolutely massive, and I'm just hoping the game has a really solid launch and isn't filled with a whole bunch of jank. But let me know which announcements that you're the most excited for, and maybe which ones you might just kind of pass on. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so. It really does help the channel out quite a bit. I want to thank you for watching, and be good.